Hello, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Media Rumble, a very warm welcome to the second round of TMR Dispatches. The Media Rumble, as many of you may already know, is an annual forum that brings together leading news professionals, tech professionals, policymakers, filmmakers, investors, and commentators from across the world to discuss the future of news, the technology behind news, the policy around news, and investment around news. Now, the fourth edition of TMR, which is slated for September 2020, will be the first digital-only media forum in India. This is going to be titled TMR at Online. In the lead up to TMR at Online, Newslaundry and Teamwork Arts feature a new series, TMR Dispatches. This will focus around local issues of significance. TMR Dispatches seeks to engage the audience spread across various geographies. Today's session is titled, We Don't Need No Mainstream. Our stories, our panelists are Afrida Hussain, Karma Paljor, Patricia Mukhim, and Pradip Phanjoubam. This will be moderated by Meghnad. My colleague is a public policy professional and a die-hard parliament nerd. He is associate editor at Newslaundry, and when he's not binge watching parliament sessions on Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha TV, he spends his time poring over legislation, simplifies it on Twitter, puts explainers, and he basically amplifies his work through social media. And he's also the co-creator and host of a series called Constitution, which is on Newslaundry. You can check it out. And he's a former LAMP fellow. He's worked with multiple MPs for the last 7 years. So over to you, Meghnad. Please take it away.
Thank you, Abhinandan, for this wonderful introduction. And I am Meghnad, as he's already pointed out. I will be moderating today's session. Let me just lay out what the session will be about, and then I'll get down to introducing our panelists. Today's session will focus on particularly East India and mostly Northeast India. And the session will focus on the churn in news media landscape in East India, given the emergence of online news platforms covering the region. We have some panelists with us who are founders of such digital platforms and also journalists who can give us their opinions about it. The question that we are trying to get answered today is, has the internet given a free lease of life for ground reportage and storytelling in the Northeast and East India? We've always been hearing this one thing, and it has been a criticism for a long time, that the mainstream media or the legacy media or the national media never really focuses on issues of the Northeast as much as it does on, say, issues closer to Delhi. So will the emergence of digital platforms actually break that cycle of not paying attention to the Northeast? Or we will get some answers from our panelists today on this issue. First, let me ask them to actually introduce themselves. Hello, everyone. Karma, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Karma Paljor. I'm editor-in-chief of EastMojo. I've worked with CNN, IBN, CNBC, and the Times of India. I've got about 20 years. After 20 years, I decided to go back to my region and report from there.
Right. Patricia, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Patricia Mukhim, the editor of the Shillong Times since 2008. I've been writing columns since 1987 and, doing some ground research and all that. And I write columns for other newspapers as well.
Pradip sir, can you introduce yourself?
I am basically a senior journalist and author, and my journey in journalism has been long. I started in '86 as a sub-editor with the Economic Times in Delhi, and then I moved on so many different organizations, and now I am the editor of a web portal called the FPSJ Review of Arts and Politics.
Right. Sir, what does FPSJ stand for?
It's a Free Press School of Journalism, but we also use it as forum for forum for promotion of justice.
Social justice. Okay.
As the social
justice.
Forum for promotion.
Right. Afrida, hi. Can you introduce yourself?
Unmute. She hasn't unmuted.
Afrida, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I am Afrida Hussain. I run the website that is INSIDENE.com. I am a first generation entrepreneur, and I started my career in 2003 with Northeast Television, which was the first satellite TV of the Northeast. Then shifted myself to the Headlines Today, then NewsX, and worked with Radio Michi with the Times of India group. Then this is my journey.
So to give you like a feel of the panel today, we have two people who have started their own ventures focusing on Northeast, which are digital ventures. And we have two veteran journalists. One is a columnist and the other is an editor of a very old newspaper, Patricia. And Patricia, your newspaper has been established in 1945, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. We're celebrating 75 years, yeah.
Yeah, and you have been writing since 1987, which is 2 years before I was born. That's excellent. So we have a journalist who has worked more than I have existed. That's great. Patricia, my first question to you. So you edit a newspaper which is old, and we have seen a shift happening from print to digital, and you have seen it very closely. You have a website. I can see, like, I saw your website, your newspaper as a website. But I wanted to ask you, what steps has your newspaper taken to make its presence more digital in nature or adapt to this new changing environment?
Yeah, we started about 10 years ago with a website, and I think it's quite widely read, especially when you have very sort of controversial news, because I also come from a state which is known for its, communal inflagration every now and again. So there are a lot of people who are Meghalayan, settled abroad, settled in other parts of the country, who follow us regularly. And when we have these controversial news, then sometimes our website even crashes because there are too many hits. So yeah.
But like, so you have social media presence as well, right?
Yes, we have. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter.
Right. And what is this? So the shift from say print to digital, how have you been dealing with it? Is the production of news the same? Like you release all your stories a day after, or you're more real time now?
It's very difficult to be real time because we are also still concentrating on the print media. And, we don't have the resources to invest in a full-time web person who will post instant news, although we're trying to do that. At the moment, we are more kind of we're still very fixated on the print part of the business. Yeah.
And has your newspaper, did you stop printing during the lockdown, or was it still printing?
No, we didn't stop for a single day. No.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, you were able to do that.
You were able to do that. Yes.
That's actually really good. I will now go to Karma. Hi, Karma. Hi. I was wondering, so you were a TV journalist before this, and then you co-founded your own digital venture, EastMojo.com. Why did you decide to do that? Why did you leave TV journalism to go to do this?
It was in the back of my mind for a long time. Even, when I got a scholarship to study abroad, one of the things I wrote there back then in 2004 is that at a certain point in my career, I'd like to go back and give back to the region that I love so much. I really want to work in the Northeast. It's very complicated. That is what I'm learning and discovering day by day. And, my media seniors like Patricia have been guiding me. She's been writing columns. So it's been an interesting journey. The other reason was that every time I went to visit the Northeast when I was a reporter and an anchor with the CNN News 18, I would get asked why, Northeast doesn't get covered, Northeast doesn't get covered. And the only answer I could come up with is that maybe it's time that we cover our own region. and we do it ourselves with pride.
Yeah.
Because we understand the region more than anybody. We don't need parachuting reporters who just come in for a day or two, try to speak to some of us and try to report. So with that attitude and that impression in my mind, I launched EastMojo.com.
That's actually an interesting sort of journey you have just described. But can I delve into this a little further with you about, so when did you start EastMojo.com, if I may ask?
15th of August, exactly about 1.5 years back. So we'll complete 2 years on
Right.
the 15th of August this year.
And where is your office based out of, and where are you based out of?
So we are in Guwahati.
Okay.
I've taken up a small one-room house in Guwahati, so I shuttle between Guwahati and Delhi because my family is still here.
Right.
So that's the way. But most of the time these days I'm spending in Guwahati.
Right. And then, as I asked the same question to Patricia, and I think this is very important for people to understand the real-time nature of news versus like a daily nature of news. So with EastMojo, Karma, if you can tell us how many reporters do you have and what does it look like right now?
So we have a small team in Guwahati, who handle the social media, 1 or 2 copiers. We have a very small team. But we are trying to make our presence felt in every state.
Right.
So we have correspondents in most of the states, barring some. The challenge that I faced really was, to get professional feet on the ground. The seasoned reporters are too expensive. You can't afford them. So then I took a conscious decision to take a bunch of journalists who are young, who are maybe just out of journalism school, but they had the fire in them. Maybe I saw some hope in them. So our correspondents in Arunachal, in Manipur, in Nagaland, in Meghalaya, they're already picking up and they're doing some great work. Even in Tripura, we've got a very good young journalist.
Right.
So the journey to find them was most difficult one. Because I thought coming from Delhi, because we are an English-speaking community, and I thought it would be easy for me to find good journalists on the ground. That myth was shattered early on. Even when I found people who could read and write well, the challenge was to see how professional they were, because they did not understand the need for a digital news to be churning out copies by the minute. For us in digital, news is now. And if we miss that, so getting them to practice out copies by the hour was a huge task. We are still fighting. It's still challenging. The website has crossed 1 million page views every month. We are hitting
That's
1 million.
nice.
So that's the great news for us. So we've been doing well there. But yeah, it's a constant challenge to keep everybody on the feed, because the conditioning is that of a print reporter, that they file mostly by about 9, 10, and expect the copy. So sometimes late at night, even I have to tweak the copies to make it more current or give it a new angle. So that's a challenge we constantly face.
Right. And I think Afrida will be actually able to add more to what Karma just said. So Afrida, you have started a portal called INSIDENE, and the tagline of it is straight up, we deliver the Northeast, right? So I wanted to ask you why you decided to specifically focus on the Northeast, and also the same question that I asked Karma, how is your portal doing? How many reporters do you have, and where are you based?
See, when I started this INSIDENE, we started with a tagline called the Untold Northeast.
Right.
After 2 years of completion of the INSIDENE, we started thinking that we have already started delivering the intention which I have started this concept of INSIDENE. Then we have changed the tagline from the Untold Northeast to the We Deliver the Northeast, because already we started thinking that we have already started delivering the Northeast in terms of content.
Right.
Why I have started INSIDENE? Because when I started my journey in 2003 with Northeast Television, which was the first satellite television of the Northeast, then after my shift from the regional media to the national media, that is, during that time it was Headlines Today, then I had to struggle every day with the assignment decks to input to output to convince them the importance of that particular news, that it is worth taking in the prime time or whatever. But unfortunately, sometimes it is in a year only 2 or 3. Maybe I'm lucky in that case, but hardly it is only on ticker or in a flash news.
Right.
And you cover it aggressively on field, and when you don't see your news on screen during the prime time, it gives you some demotivation.
Right.
Then I shifted myself to NewsX. NewsX, somehow that time Times Now was giving very much importance to the Northeast. During that time, Arnav Goswami was there. That first trend of giving importance to the Northeast comes with the Times Now that during those days. And NewsX, being the competitor, somehow started giving importance to the Northeast compared to the headlines today when I started with them. But that same thing is, I got only one talk show in the 4 years. That too when I uncovered one jihadi from the shore area. Otherwise, no.
Okay.
So why Northeast always needs a blast or militant activities to get that mainstream importance? Because there are lots of other issues like Baghjan oil, this blast, then Dihing Patkai, and all other issues are there. Not only these issues, eventual issues, but also the political issues are there, which I think that mainstream should give importance, but they somehow ignore. But these days, I have seen a trend of giving mainstream importance to the Northeast, but it's very, very, it's like a personal, it's like a figure. If you're a very big politician, they will do an interview of yours.
Right.
It's like that. It's now,
it's more political oriented rather than event oriented.
It's political and personality oriented. Who is the more powerful? Who is the more powerful politician of the Northeast? It will be focused like that. It's not issues. They will give your feature story on a particular politician. It's a very powerful personality-based reporting. It's not featured. It's not issue. That's how INSIDENE comes in. Yes.
Yeah. I actually. I'll come back to you, Afrida, once again. But I wanted Pradip sir to weigh in here and actually tell us more about what he thinks about the tyranny of distance. As Afrida also pointed out, that there is this steadfast, always, I don't know if it's a pattern or why it happens, but Northeast is just not given that much importance. If I was just going through YouTube channels of different news channels to see how many debates they have held on Assam floods, and to give viewers a context, as of right now, this is today's news, some 7 lakh people have been displaced from 17 districts and they continue to suffer. Plus, there was a recent incident, as Afrida also pointed out, the oil well fire, right? The oil well fire was burning for 37 plus days. And I think 2 people have died since June 9th. Now, both of these are in my mind. If it happened in Delhi, or in fact, it like Bombay, if there is a little bit of rain, they start reporting on like how there is waterlogging. But like there is this flood where 7 lakh people have been displaced and it's not being reported. Pradip sir, why does this happen?
I think that has been explained pretty well by others. In a sense, I remember still that it's fixed on my mind what Ashok Mitra, he's no more, but he wrote a column in Telegraph, I think 2012, and that struck me so much, because, and I still remember it pretty well, where he was saying that, in 1937, Burma was separated from India. I mean, Burma was part of India. It was part of British India. It was separated in 1937. I mean, in accordance to the Government of India Act 1935. So they became 2 separate administrations, and there was not a squeak of protest. India doesn't look east. This is basically what I'm saying. So he was actually suggesting that if the Northeast was also separated in 1937, maybe the same fate. People would not have been bothered. Right. They're talking about the floods. Nobody's bothered about the floods. But if in 1937, before the independence of India, Northeast was separated and been a crown colony or something of that sort, I don't think they would have any problem. In a sense, when Burma was separated, and 1937 was at the peak of the freedom movement. So when the freedom movement was happening, a part of India was separated, and there was nothing. but on the other side, so that thing has been there. I think basically it's built into the psychology of the nation as such that we are always looking west, even for west in a sense, not even for your history. We hear about the Hindu Kush here in Manipur or Nagaland, anywhere in the Northeast. We know what the Hindu Kush is about. We know what the Khyber Pass is about, but we don't know anything about the Northeast or something beyond it. We don't know so much about Sikkim or anything. So I think basically it's a psychology which is built into the entire system, into the entire makeup of the Indian nationhood. And I think that has to change. That has to change. Otherwise, this distance is going to remain. And this distance is not about kilometers. It's also about the
I wanted to actually focus on this change part, which you just noticed, which you just pointed out. Do you think the change has been because of the internet and digital platforms like EastMojo and INSIDENE?
Yeah, I think that is one of them. But even otherwise, I think there has been some debate on these, and there have been people who've been campaigning that the mainstream should not be a defined kind of a stream where you have to join it, you have to leave your own stream. Yeah. You allow the other streams to remain, and if you broaden the stream, then you can be just what you are and be still part of mainstream.
Right.
What was being asked for initially was to leave your stream, yeah, yeah, so that you can join. So I think that is coming about. But the new platforms are also doing well, advocating the causes of the Northeast to the rest of India, and that has been very well. And I think it was coming in a sense that turning digital is the future, and I think this was coming all the while. And in fact, I think we have a web portal which is about 3 months old, but this was happening, and I think the traditional media is, I think the days are numbered in the sense that it's not just about circulation dropping or people going to the internet or social media taking over, that everybody's become journalists in a sense. Everybody with a smartphone has become journalists and real-time kind of report us there. Not only that, but it's also because the advertisements are actually migrating. You know, Facebook and Google are getting so much more ads than, so all the traditional media are actually migrating to the internet. And I think that's an inevitable process. And I think this is even happening to the movie world. In a sense, I was speaking to some movie makers, and they are concerned about the smartphone dimensions because lots of people are actually watching movies on thing. And you have 4G now. It's going to be 5G. It's going to be
the point.
If you can't.
Sir, I'll just have to interrupt you and come back to you because I wanted to bring in Patricia here. Patricia, I again come back to what we spoke about earlier about the shift from print to digital. Do you think the shift is actually helping cover more stories from the Northeast? Because from your newspaper, for instance, like when you do like a groundbreaking story, you must have seen how national media picks it up or how TV channels picks it up or etc. But do you think now an EastMojo picking it up or something like Afrida's digital portal picking it up also matters to you?
Yeah, it matters a lot. Also because these are our competitors in a sense, you know. It's important for us to get the news out, but we also get a lot of news from them, from our competitors, to follow up for our readers who still read the hard copy of the newspaper. See, the thing with the digital media is that, you know, we keep complaining about the mainstream media not carrying news from the region. I think that's rather cliched because we do the same thing back here. We report a lot on what happens in Shillong or in Guwahati or Imphal, but we don't go to the periphery. Right. And I think, you know, what digital media has done is has awakened us from our reverie and made us more conscious that we need to branch out. In fact, these days, I'm personally, maybe I'm a different kind of editor because I file a lot of stories myself on a daily basis, and I go out to the rural outbacks. I think we need to change our tack a bit. I think if you look at television media today, the so-called national media, what is it really giving us apart from all the venom that is being spewed evening after evening? I think it's really bad for the mental health of young people to be listening to these these television discussions.
Yeah.
Maybe we from the region can chart out a better course, because I'm reading Pradip's stories online, and he translates some of the historical documents to English, and it's so refreshing to read them, because we don't know so much about each other also. That is also the fact about the Northeast. We know so little about one another.
Yeah.
I still need to learn a lot about the history of Manipur, the history of Nagaland. Nagaland, I know much more because I travel there much more, but Manipur is very fascinating because it has such a wonderful divide, if I may say. So the digital media has so many uses. One of them being that, okay, everybody is a journalist, but what they send us is sometimes very important. We could miss out on those if these people in the periphery didn't send us this news.
Right. Karma, I wanted to ask you about the penetration of internet in the Northeast a little bit. What sort of difficulties do you face regarding internet penetration in the region? And plus, is it improving? Have you seen like a change in the penetration and therefore an increase in your audience consequently?
It's very slow. If you look at the entire area, so internet is mostly focused in Assam, but rest of the areas are very poorly connected. We also work with, kind of citizen reporters across the Northeast who are verified people. We know. Sometimes I know closely, my friends know closely. So we work with them in the remote corners, and sometimes they do help us send some footage that we need urgently, or certain news bits and all. So in those places, there is a point, like in Kashmir, there is an internet, like in Sikkim, in Zongu, there is a 4G point, up the hill. You have to walk 1 or 2 kilometers, and they've put a bamboo pole and a small sign saying 4G point. So that guy has to trek up about 2 kilometers and then send us whatever. So recently, that's how we got most of the footage when there was a landslide in that Zongu area. Similarly, with the Tirap, if you've heard, where MLA, a sitting MLA was gunned down, the NPP, there, because of patchy internet, the internet was patchy, but we were able to get footage immediately because of those people who were on the ground and who immediately shot it and sent. So the images already came. But for me to do a comprehensive story, we had to send a journalist. And nobody, I think at that point, had sent a journalist to that area of Khongsa, Tirap. Nobody's seen that area. So my Arunachal reporter and we hired a camera person, and they moved immediately to that area, and they did a documentary. That documentary so far has been our highest. We do about 2 documentaries every month and a couple of long format stories, which don't get read so much, but sometimes the documentaries do so well. So this Tirap documentary has been watched about 3 lakh plus times on YouTube. So it was very, very popular.
Right.
So, that's what...
what was the documentary called, Karma, if you can also state that, if people want to watch it?
If you can just go to our documentary section on EastMojo YouTube channel and search. It says Tirap Killings, I think. Tirap Killings. So you can find that documentary there.
Right. Afrida, actually, I wanted to ask you what Karma actually left off. We can pick it up from there about, also the kind of storytelling you can do now, right? Through digital. I mean, of course, there is written articles, etc. But is your platform also sort of focusing on video content, audio content, or changing that sort of consumption patterns?
We want to focus on the video content and the audio content as well in terms of podcast and all. But due to the lack of resources, because the resources and the funding is a big problem. If you want to do, if you have plans also, you can't do anything unless you have a paisa. So we are lack of some resources.
Right.
We are now focusing more on the website in terms of content and all. And also breaking visuals we are focusing, and which we are getting very, very good in terms of, if we talk about INSIDENE, our USP is breaking visuals.
Right.
So like that, we are trying to focus. And because of I have spent like 18 years in the TV journalism only, and all my network was there. So all my friends from this media are helping. Most of them are helping me voluntarily. You can't believe it. But I'm waiting for times to come. But I don't know, because of COVID, I'm not sure about our good times now. But yes, and because of terrain also, if you want to focus on documentaries, like Karma is doing very good. Although he is my competitor, I must appreciate in terms of documentary, he's doing really well. But we are not able to do that sort of stuff because we need to travel a lot, and because of geographical and the terrain is so difficult, you need to hire a car or something like that to reach that particular spot, and you have to hire a hotel, and all this stuff costs a big amount of money. At this moment of time, we don't have that particular resource to focus on. That's why we are concentrating only on the website and on breaking visuals and podcast.
I will actually ask this question to Pradip sir, the business part of it, just a second. But before I do that, what I'll also do is, after Pradip sir gives his answer, I'll give all of you a chance to ask each other questions. I think that would be a very valuable thing to do, because you have been mentioning each other. So I think you have questions for each other as well. So we'll do one round of that after Pradip sir answers. Pradip sir, I just wanted to take off from where Afrida left about the business model of this, right? I mean, we are right now in lockdown times, COVID. I think advertisers are fleeing everywhere. I'm pretty sure Patricia ma'am will be able to tell us about that more. Advertisement budgets have been cut. I just wanted quickly to ask Karma and Frida, have you started digital subscription models, or is it still all ad-based? Karma, is EastMojo considering
I still haven't started it. I would love to start it, but I want to wait some time to grow the audience a bit, and to see how mature the audience gets. Once the audience gets mature, once the hits are there, once we have people who are dedicated to follow us and who keep coming back to us, that's the time we would like to start the subscription model.
Right. And Afrida, have you considered this as well?
Yeah. We have started subscription model last month only. We are getting a good response out of that. We have 2 plans out of there in the particular model. And regarding last 3 years, we are particularly only on advertisement revenue. And you are right, now the advertisers are like avoiding all of us, because
I can see that. And that's not just happening to smaller platforms, but even bigger media houses are struggling with that. So Pradip sir, to bring you in there, if there in the, like, say, even now, but also in the future, if platforms like, say, EastMojo and even Shillong Times and Inside Northeast have to survive, sir, what do you see as a business model there? Do you think hyper-local journalism can be a thing, or what do you think how can they survive?
That's a difficult thing to answer, because it's still very new.
Yes.
And also, as you said, this is a struggle for everybody, because it's a new platform, and it's been totally monopolized by Google and Facebook, the internet advertisements. So I think we'll have to think about that. But for the moment, what we need to be doing, and since we are in the transition period, Patricia, for instance, has a print edition as well as internet edition, so they can subsidize each other. So I think that will have to be somewhat, that's my feeling, because I'm not the final say on this, but we are also doing the same thing. And for us, it's slightly easier, because we are not looking at news only, because news is big and also the shelf life is very small. So we are actually looking at the story behind the news, which has a long shelf life. So we're taking those and then also coming out a periodical, print periodical. And we are hoping that we will be able to get the traditional kind of ads in that print edition. And for the web edition, I think it's an open challenge, in the sense that you have so much more. You can also get video ads. I mean, it's not like in the print media where you can't do that. You have so many handles, and how we use that handle is yet to be seen. And it's a challenge. As I said, it's a challenge. It may not work, but it should work, because it's an opening, and also it's a new age kind of media that it's going to happen. Everybody is going to be there sometime or the other. So many people are so many of the papers I actually thinking of closing down. I mean, I read about Guardian long ago, 2-3 years ago, that they'll be closing down their print edition in 10 years, and they'll be transitioning totally to the, and I keep reading their articles, and at the end they're also exploring possibilities. They're asking for donation. They're asking for so many different avenues they're trying out. So I think we'll have to watch and see how we can do that. In the meantime, we can also, because the business model is also going to depend on the environment you're working in. You're working in a place that we're looking for different kind of ads and that kind of thing. And so I think that will be there. And the other saving grace, I would say, is that the overheads are not too high when you're doing the internet.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy newsprint and paper and machinery and all that. So the overheads are quite low. So I think some kind of model, some kind of stability will be coming in. But for the moment, I think it's a race against technology. You do one thing and then the technology jumps to another level and then you have to catch up with that again. And that kind of thing is happening at the moment. But I think we're optimistic that it'll work.
I will now actually give everyone else a chance to ask each other questions. So if anybody has any question for someone else. Yeah, Patricia, please go ahead.
I want to ask Pradip a question because he was editing the Imphal Free Press and then he let it go and then he started something else. So I'm wondering if the Imphal Free Press now under a different ownership or maybe a different editorship is doing as well as it used to do, because with a newspaper it is also the name of the editor that is important. So has the change in editorship affected Imphal Free Press, or how is it working?
It's also the momentum. You create the momentum. It's like a juggernaut. You create the momentum and then it keeps running. So I think that is happening. And if the captaining is done well, then I think it should do well. But because I wanted to change, and I've been there in the print media for I don't know how many years, and I thought it's time for me to do reflective kind of writing. I mean, I took a break and was a fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Study in Shimla for 2 years, and there, I thought that kind of writing is what I should be looking for now at this age. Before you retire, before you bend, I thought I should be writing some other kind of some other style, not just the very immediate. Because in the daily news business, you're chasing after so many very short deadlines. One stupid politician says something and you're writing about that, and that gets time. You have to be actually writing and thinking about longer term perspective, and this is what I thought was going to be in this new setup. And we are building a team at the moment. And as I said, it's still very new. We also have to depend on the business model that evolves and the team that is coming in. And we are hopeful that it will work.
Does anyone, Karma, do you have any questions for anyone?
Yeah, I have a question for Patricia, ma'am. The recent hot potato right now, the topic, very sad incident that happened, in regards to that young boy and communal violence. This has been happening in Meghalaya for a long time. How, as you, as an editor, have handled such stories, and how has your paper handled these stories?
We are very careful about how we handle these stories, but I think I'm one of those editors who also is active on Facebook. So on Facebook, I give my personal views. I feel very strongly about this discrimination that's being faced by so-called non-indigenous people, non-tribal people. They have been facing this since 1979, and it doesn't seem to be letting up. So, one feels that beyond a point, one is a human being and one must act or react as a human person, not as person of this community or that community. And of course, that gets the goat of my own people who think I'm very pro non-tribal, and, they lambast me on social media, which is fine. But I think one has to live with one's conscience. But as far as covering it in the newspaper or the website, we're very careful not to mention communities, or we don't want to further inflame the situation. But today, for instance, there's a news where the father of that boy who got beaten up said he in fact blamed the media for highlighting the story. And he's saying that it's not racial, it's not communal. Why is the media, flaring it up? And then he said, we have to live amicably. So my reading is that we are, the people here who are at the receiving end are also getting used to the Stockholm syndrome. They prefer to, not say anything and to live peacefully because they have to live here anyway. They've been born and brought up here. So they prefer not to, to just iron out the edges, however difficult it is. But somehow I think that's not a good way to retreat. This is something we have to resolve. And I've been telling a few friends, why don't we create a platform to build bridges? We need to be talking to each other because communication is breaking down. We are all talking at each other and we are talking through social media. We're scolding each other. There has to be a better way out.
Yeah. Also, like to just little adding to that point, I think it's also important for say journalists from like the region to talk to each other, etc. Do you guys have like this? Do you guys even have a WhatsApp group where you can talk?
No, we don't. I think we should start one, Karma.
But yeah, I mean, not as journalists, but yeah, most of us
as
are
friends. As friends.
Yeah.
In some WhatsApp groups, we are there.
Because sharing experiences when something, just say focusing on a region, like this is a new thing that is going on, like EastMojo, and just like a few years old. So I think, what TMR has been trying to do throughout is to bring journalists together on a platform, not just to do just talks like these or panels, but then they get to meet each other, share numbers. It's like a platform where journalists can get together and share their ideas with each other as well. So I think that is something which would be valuable going forward, even in the Northeast region.
I have a question.
Yes, I was just coming to you. So one last question, please.
So I have a question for both the senior journalists, Patricia Mukhim and producer, that how, if we claimed ourselves to be independent at the time when the pressure of both the corporates and politicians are there, how you people are maintaining that, or are you able to maintain that?
Let me answer that. We are completely independent because we are not so dependent on corporate funding. We have advertisers. They are motor vehicle dealers and so on and so forth, but not those big corporate giants that fund television media. So far so good. We haven't been under that much pressure. The pressure we felt is when the GST started. Then the advertisements started dripping, rather receding, and that was the time that we have been struggling. And now, of course, advertisements have just dried out. So we've had to lay off a few people, a few employees, not people from the reporting, not from amongst the reporting staff, but from the office and all. We just couldn't carry on the way we did.
Pradip sir?
To add, I think probably I will endorse what Patricia has said, that that we don't depend so much on corporate ads. We don't have corporate ads at all.
Yeah.
And poverty has a strength that you don't have much to lose, so you can fight anybody. That's kind of decked up with endorsements from different organizations. Then you also start catering to their needs and wishes. That doesn't happen here. And as I said, no, it's the strength of poverty is very much there with the Northeast. That you say hell to your boss, because you can even quit your job easily because there's not much of salary there as well. I'm not encouraging. I'm just saying that there is strength in poverty. Yeah.
Poverty brews courage, is what Pradip sir is saying. No, but very valid.
So we've been fighting everyone, the judiciary, the politicians. So we're all the time summoned to the court or summoned for, to the assembly. All kinds of funny cases are filed against us. But that's life. I think we've gotten used to it.
I think that's a wonderful way to end this wonderful panel. And I would like to thank everyone who came here and who spent some time doing this. And thank you everyone for being here, and thank you everyone for participating and being so wonderful. I will go back to our host, Abhinandan. Please, Abhinandan.
Thanks, Meghnad. And thank you, panel, Afrida, Karma, Patricia, and Pradip. Appreciate you making the time. And I loved what you guys said about the model. It is something that I have been trying to convince everybody of for many, many years. And thank you, Meghnad. Thank you to our colleagues at Teamwork Arts who have done such a fantastic job putting this together. I hope our audience found this of value. I know I had a lot of learnings from this. Although I did have a question, in '99 when I had actually done my first documentary film called The Chadar, which is this trade route in Zanskar, which was commissioned by Doordarshan, and we didn't have any connections. We just sent a proposal, and we were told that there's a huge budget for such programming for northeastern Kashmir. So it was unspent. That's why you got it. Otherwise, you are no one. And it was Feb. So I'm wondering, where does this budget go and who gets it, if not people like you? But yes, maybe we'll keep that for another day. So do keep track of TMR online and dispatches. And I will just remind all our viewers that you can follow our social media handles, so you'll get updates. The Media Rumble is on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. And in case you drop off due to bandwidth issues, all these videos are on our YouTube channel, The Media Rumble. With that, thank you, panel. Thank you, the production team that put this together. And until the next TMR Dispatches, have a great week.